Today we come to question number 8, and I want to take a bit of a turn for these last 3 questions. Now let me remind you real quickly of the first 7 questions. First was, who are you, or what is your name? Secondly, where are you? What are you doing here? What do you have in your hand? What do you have in your house? What do you have in your heart? Then yesterday, Jesus asked the question, who do you say that I am? Those first 7 questions all helped us sort out our direction and purpose. They dealt with our abilities, our resources, our passions, and our perceptions about God. These last 3 questions are going to help us with a problem many of us experience called failure to launch. They deal with things that hold us back from moving forward, even when we think we know God's direction and purpose for our lives. Today's question comes from Exodus 14. Now, Exodus 14 is the story of the children of Israel coming to the Red Sea, and they have been delivered from slavery, and then the Egyptian army has begun to follow them, and suddenly they run into this Red Sea, and they're on the shore there, and the children of Israel do what they were the best in the world at, and that is they begin to complain. And they ask Moses, you think there weren't any graves in Egypt? Why'd you have to bring us out here to kill us? Now, Moses delivers what sounds like a great statement of faith in verse 13. Moses told the people, don't be afraid. Just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. Notice Moses' instructions. Stand still and watch the Lord. Unfortunately for Moses, God now interrupts. The next verse says, Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. Now this is today's question. Why are you crying out to me? Get moving. And that kind of sounds harsh, doesn't it? Particularly in light of Moses' seemingly great declaration of faith. Why does God seem impatient with Moses right here? Well, months earlier, back in chapter 3 of Exodus, at a burning bush, God had told Moses that he would lead the Israelites back to that same mountain to worship him. That mountain, Mount Sinai, was on the opposite side of the Red Sea from where Israel was presently camped. God had also pointed out the shepherd's staff in Moses' hand and told him to take his staff with him to Egypt and use it to perform miracles. In other words, God had already told Moses he was supposed to cross the Red Sea, and he had already shown Moses that he could use his staff to perform miracles. Why had Moses stopped? Did he think God might have changed his mind? Well, God hadn't. He told Moses, pick up your staff. Notice the instructions. Pick up your staff and raise your hand over the sea. Divide the water, and this is an imperative sentence, so it really means you divide the water so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea. Then God says he'll get involved. The next verse he says, and I will harden the heart of the Egyptians, and they will charge in after the Israelites. My great glory will be displayed through Pharaoh and his troops, his chariots and his charioteers. And when my glory is displayed through them, all Egypt will see my glory and know that I am the Lord. It's tempting to wait on God to miraculously make the way clear ahead of us, but many times the miracle comes after the movement begins. We see this same principle in the New Testament in Luke 17. Jesus meets a group of 10 lepers, and they come to him and say, we need cleansing, will you please heal us? And Jesus tells them to go show themselves to the high priest. However, at that moment, they begin to walk toward the high priest. They're as sick as they ever were. They're as unclean as they ever were. But verse 14 says, and as they went, they were healed of their leprosy. Now, over the last 7 questions, we've talked about how we can know God's purpose in our lives. And maybe you've done a lot of soul searching. But there comes a moment when it is time to take what you have in your hand and use it to follow what you have in your heart. And this was that moment for Moses. It could be that moment for you as well. God just might be saying, why are you crying out to me? Get moving. Remember, sometimes the miracle comes after the movement begins.